Hello, everyone. So, this is going to be different than usual, different from our normal resets. And it's just something I've had on my mind all week and really haven't been able to shake it. And I've been trying to go through my mind over and over again of why do you keep thinking about this? Why does this keep coming up? And it's the recent passing, the former Miss USA. And I realized, I didn't know her. I had seen her a couple of years ago on TV and when she was doing some of her interviews after being announced the new winner and also some of her specials on Extra. And I'm like, why is the passing or the death of someone that you've never met, why is that bothering you so much? And I've been reflecting over this over the past few days, and I was wondering, should you make a podcast episode about it? Should you go live on IG? How do I address it? How do I address it? And how do I get all of these thoughts and feelings and emotions and just reflections out there? Because this is really, I know, rocked a lot of people, surprised a lot of people, and has really made national news. And one of the things I think that stood out to me about all of this is I remember when I first heard about it, I had a friend text me who's also an attorney similar to Chelsea, and he sent me a text and he said, but she had it all. And I remember reading that text and thinking wow, I was thinking the same thing. It crossed my mind. And I think that's one of the things that it's kind of like the elephant in the room, or people necessarily haven't said, but the beauty, the brains, the prestige, the quote unquote having it all. And I started thinking about, well, what does having it all even mean? And another thing I realized that really shook me about this passing is that she's my age. I'm also 30 years old, and she's a beautiful Black girl. I'm African American, I'm Black. So those things stood out to me. But then I also feel like, I don't have it all. And there's things that I feel like are lacking or missing from my life. And then it made me start to question it. Are those things really missing? How are you evaluating success? How are you evaluating what having it all means? And I think also too with the recent passing of Regina King's son, as well as the young guy, I think he was 31 off of the HBO series. So seeing young Black successful people who are hearing about it, maybe that's the better word, who are battling their own mental health situations and trials, and who have decided they no longer want to live anymore. That's it hurts. It hurts. I think it's giving, if there is any silver lining in all of this, it's giving us all, I would say, a wake up call. It's giving us a wake up call, and it's also opening the conversation about mental health, about appearances, right? We're us thinking that someone has it all, whatever that means, whether that mean the job, the money, the success, the social media following, all these outward things, all of these things that many would argue are superficial, when inside you're hurting, when inside there's something that is, eating at you. And Chelsea's mom spoke of her privately dealing with depression, or as she used the term, high functioning depression. And that stood out to me too, because prior to me starting this podcast, I'd never heard of the terms high functioning anxiety or high functioning depression. And for anyone who remembers, I had a guest on named Heather this past year, and she talked about dealing with high functioning anxiety, and everything she spoke of, the physiological response is something I could relate to and connect to. And I've never been diagnosed. I've never had anyone characterize it or use that term for it, but in terms of like being able to go throughout my daily life and do my thing and perform at a high level, check the box, cool, good to go. But there is like that like worry about like the future. Did I do it right? Did I did it correctly? And then how that shows up and manifests in different people differently. And for me, I've noticed it showed up in my skin. It showed up in my stomach, just with like stomach pain, frustration, anxiousness, all of that. It didn't affect my ability to do my work or my job or just to show up, but it has affected like my physical body. And when you have thoughts racing through your head, it can even affect, like or have a strong relationship with like insomnia and being a perfectionist and all types of things. I realized another thing, that the recent passing of these young Black, and I mean for people that are only listening, I'm using air quotes for successful, because what is success? What does that mean, or what is having it all? And I keep going like in my head and in my mind trying to figure out what is that. There's like that song, I just want to be successful. And I remember when I first heard that song and when it came out, I remember I was in college and that was like everybody's like anthem. Like, I'm trying to, get to the money. I'm trying to get to, all of these, everything now is goals. And all of this is just making me think about like, how are we defining this stuff? And are we allowing other people to define it for us? Do we have a clear written understanding of what success or having it all looks like for ourselves, rather than what someone has told us it's supposed to look like, what society has told us it is? Are we working to obtain something that's not real, that's Photoshop, that's not filled with joy? I just had a conversation with my dad actually right before I started recording this, and we were talking about money. And right now, there's the great resignation, the big quit, people leaving their jobs left and right. And he made the comment, oh, well, they just need to be paid more money. And though I am 100% in agreement that there is a lot of inequity in pay across the job market, I was the first to tell him two places that I worked in my career, they could double my salary today. And I wouldn't even consider, it wouldn't even cross my mind to go back because of the environment, because of the way I was treated, because of there not being a psychologically safe place to work, because I wasn't supported, because of my differences were made as things as like, oh, rather than, let's figure out how we can utilize these differences for the better of the group. My differences were something I was isolated for, or mistreated for. And I could go off on a tangent about that, but we won't go into that on this episode. But I brought up to him, it wasn't about the money, because you could have paid me double, even triple, and I would not go back. And that is how important my mental health, and not even using the term mental health, because I know that word is being used. It's like a big, like, hot term right now. But for me, the biggest thing is peace of mind. I like my peace of mind. I like being able to just relax and just enjoy my work, and find ways to be creative and to think in a supportive environment. So it's not just about the money. Of course, I want to be paid for what I'm contributing. I want to be paid at a fair, equitable rate. But my peace of mind and my fulfillment are so important to me. And, speaking of reset, if you'd have asked me this 2 years ago, I couldn't have said that. I definitely couldn't have said it confidently. I've been like, double, triple? Okay, let's talk about it. Let's see some things. But now that I recognize the importance of quality of life, because a lot of people, even have quantity of life, but they don't have quality of life. Now that I recognize the importance of that, it's like one of those things, once you know, you can't unknow. And it's so important to have peace. It's so important to go to a place every day or to live in a place where you're supported and it's a great environment for you. And when I think about why these recent suicides were so, I guess the term would be triggering for me, is that it just really made me think about the depression, the anxiety, the frustration that so many people that look like me, the same age as me, are experiencing right now. And it makes me think about why I even started this podcast about resets, right? It's for people, it's for and it's for people that are just in their own devastation, frustration, in their own valley, in their own hole, and they need to hear how someone else was there too, and they got out. They got out. And whether it took years, whether it took days, they got out. And what I've learned through talking with numerous people just in life as well as on this podcast is that it's a process to work on yourself, to work on your peace of mind. It's a process, it's a journey. It's a journey of learning about yourself, learning about things that like get under your skin. That's one of the things that I'm working on right now. Identifying, and I've also had some other people identify like, hey, when this happens, you get all out of sorts. And it's like, now that this is brought to my attention, now that I know I can't unknow, what are you gonna do about it? If this is something that really rattles you, you need to figure out a better way to work through it. Maybe that's with talking to someone, maybe that's with journaling, maybe it's even something like this. I love this podcast. I love talking with you all because it's therapeutic for me to just get it out there and not hold it in. And I want people to hear conversations and hear content that people aren't talking about. Like, the reason I believe that so many people, and this has broke national news with the passing of the Miss USA, is that from the outside looking in, people are like, what? She's beautiful. She's fit. She's living in New York City. She won one of the biggest titles, you know, pageants like in the country. She's been on major stages. She has, that I know of, at least 3 degrees. How could this happen? That's what people, I think people are just like, I cannot believe this. What? And another thing that really stands out to me is people have public personas and a completely different private life. And somebody needs to hear that again. Like, don't sleep on that. People have what they show you in public, what they show you at work, the smiles. How you doing? I'm good. I'm great. And then privately be in their own battle. And nobody's talking about that because it's about appearances, right? It's about smiling, looking good on the gram, showing everybody, oh, okay, look at me, look at my fly, look at me and my boo, Netflix and chill. Like, I got it like that, balling like 2022, new year, new me. And privately be broke down, busted, and disgusted, or depressed, or anxious, or hopeless. Nobody's talking about this. Ah, we're only seeing the highlights. We're seeing the good stuff, the clickbait, the cute pictures, the Photoshop, the angles. Nobody's talking about, no, but people go home and they're lonely. People go home and they're sad. If this did anything for me, this is for me what it did for me. It was a reminder, because we all need reminders that the comparison is the thief of all joy. Do not get caught up looking at what somebody's doing on social media, what somebody's doing on work, what kind of car somebody's driving, where they're vacationing. All you know, they're vacationing and ain't got a pot to you know what in, or a window to throw it out of, or have nothing in the bank. but they jet setting. And maybe they are jet setting in something else, and they can afford to jet set and something else in their life is not going right. I just hope if people got anything out of this is that salt and sugar look the same. Looks, appearances, social media, glitz, glamour, the highlights. That's what people are choosing to show. Another thing that I really hope people got out of this, and what I personally got out of this, is that you never know what people are going through. So be kind, extend grace. You never know. And you may just be the person to lift somebody up. You may just be the person to make someone smile. You may just be the person that day to lighten the load. Never assume because of appearances or even because of what somebody tells you. How you doing? I'm great. I'm good. I'm blessed and highly favored. We've been conditioned to say things like that. We've been programmed to share the good. And I'm not saying going, being, a negative Nelly. I just want people to be reminded that things aren't always as they appear. And that it's so important for us, especially for any millennials, any young people, if you're a Gen Zer, if you're listening right now, don't get caught up on social media, clothing, cars, all the flashy stuff that you see, whether it be at work, school, out in these streets, wherever that is. That's for me. I know I needed that. I needed that reminder. Just a reminder that everybody's got their stuff that they're going through, their own private battles, private frustrations, private struggles. Be kind, be graceful, and never think like, oh, I know what they got or I know what they're doing over there. Remember, sugar and salt, they look the same. So again, if there's any silver lining to these recent passings, it's definitely a reminder to take care of yourself. Talk to someone if you need to. Don't feel like you have to have it all together. What's this cliche term? It's cliche, but it's real. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay. And it's okay to also feel like you don't have it all together and to be like, I can't believe this is my life when things seem to go like completely left, completely wrong, like, or I know we'll hear the phrase like all of this at once. You'll get through it. There's somebody who's been through something similar or even worse to you, worse than you. There are resources. You may have to dig, you may have to search, you may have to be even vulnerable, but there's help. I'm super excited that I could even see. I'm like taking a deep breath, like even put this like out because I feel like it was hanging inside of me, and I wanted to talk about it. So I'm excited to really share this. I'm excited because I hope this is going to reach somebody who is going through their own private struggle. All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in to this special episode. And as always, remember, a reset is always available to you.